Happy Super Bowl Sunday. But in this episode, we're not going to talk about the Super Bowl. We already did that earlier. I'm actually going to step out of my comfort zone. Me growing up in New York, but I live in Atlanta now. I don't know a heck of a lot about NASCAR, but where I live, obviously there are a lot of NASCAR fans down here. So I've got two friends of mine that grew up here in Georgia, NASCAR fans, and they'll know a lot more about it than I do. And I have some issues with NASCAR, and I want to find out if they're like legitimate issues or I'm just crazy to think that way. I don't know, but I promised a little side of New York attitude, and I'm going to bring it out a little bit today, and these guys will probably straighten me out, educate me. Like I said, I can do the educating, but sometimes I'm the one that needs the education. So today is going to be one of those days where I actually get educated, and that's good. So that's fine with me. All right, so we're talking about NASCAR. Obviously, you guys know that new rules are coming in for 2014.
Correct.
And I told you guys earlier, and I'm going to get to one of I guess I have 3 or 4 beefs that really irk me, that if we had this year's rules last season, that Dale Earnhardt Jr. would have won the title. And how many races did he win, fellas?
0.
All right. He won none. Okay. And I will get more into that issue in a minute. So, and as you told me before, Curtis, oh, by the way, let me introduce my guests. My friend Curtis Smith sitting here to my left, and my friend Chad Spiva is sitting in front of me. And I'm ready to get educated. So, as we said, Junior would have won the title last year with the rules that are about to start, with 0 wins. Now, Matt Kenseth, how many times did he win, fellas, last
7.
year? He won 7 races. And not only would he not have won the championship, he wouldn't have even qualified for the chase. How is that? I mean, that drives me crazy. You have no idea. How do you win no races and win the title, and win 7 races and not only not win the title, not even eligible to challenge for the title? Educate me, please.
All right. Basically, the point system goes is they award points for consistency.
Okay.
The higher up you finish, the more points you win. If you win a race, actually the points take care of themselves.
Okay.
You earn a point for leading a lap, and you earn a point for leading the most laps in every race. So if you wreck out early in races and finish back, you're going to get the least amount of points. So they basically award people that finish the best finish of each race throughout the whole season.
Wow.
The wins gets the point. The wins have to bring the points with them.
Okay. And they're saying, and I understand that, and they're saying with the new system that they're really emphasizing winning, but they also say that it is still possible to win 0 of 36 races and win the title. So how is that more emphasis on winning if you can still win 0 of 36 and win the championship?
It's based on consistency. I mean, if you finish in the top 5 every race, but yeah, you win 4 or 5 races, but finish in the 30 or below on the rest of the races, you're not getting the points.
Plus, also, when the chase starts, whoever you get, that's where you get your points for winning. Because they reset the whole point system for those players in the chase.
Okay.
The guy that has the most wins does get points for those wins when the chase starts.
Okay.
Not throughout the season for the regular points.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Chad. Tell me what you think. Now, the officials at NASCAR are denying this. Now, me, as I stated, not an expert on NASCAR, still learning a lot of stuff. There have been suggestions that NASCAR is, they're making these rule changes to stop Jimmy Johnson's dominance. That's what I've heard. I don't know. That's just what I've heard, and doing a little bit of background homework, trying to get a little bit of education so I have some idea what I'm talking about, like for this show. What do you think that, of course they're going to deny it, I get it, but that doesn't mean that it's not true. Do you think, because Jimmy Johnson, I believe he has won like 6 of the last 8 or 6 out of the last 7, 6 of the last 8 championships. Now, I'm not questioning how great a driver he is. He's awesome. But do you think that the bigwigs at NASCAR are not happy with his dominance, and these rules are designed to give other drivers a better chance to knock him off?
The big wigs in NASCAR, of course, they want to see different people come up. They don't want to see the dominance, but as far as making these rules to go after that, I really can't say that's the case. But I mean, they never admitted it. That's what it is.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
They'll never admit it.
Of course not, and I understand that. I wanted to see what you thought. Curtis, chime in. Do you think
well,
that
there's
they're
been
trying
lots
to
of
get...
rumors. I mean, I've heard other people say it. Yeah, they're doing all this to keep Jimmy from winning the championship. But they also, their main concern is to keep it interesting for the fans. Because without the fans, there's no sport.
Of course.
So that's one reason. It's like every year, if anybody notices, they change the rules of the championship and they change the rules to all these races, different specialty races they have, to keep it interesting for the fans. They get the fans involved in a lot of this stuff now.
Okay, and I understand that. So I'm going to move on, and I appreciate the knowledge. I'm going to move on. I think, well, before I move on, I think, again, not being an expert on NASCAR by any stretch of the imagination, I think there's something that they're trying to get Jimmy to not be so dominant. I think they'd be thrilled if Junior would win the championship. They're never going to admit it, like Chad was saying. They'll never admit doing any of this stuff, and we all know that. Even I'm smart enough to know that.
But also, you got to look at, they brought in different cars throughout the years, and Jimmy and Chad have always adapted to the new car that they brought in. The car tomorrow, the Gen 6 car now, they've adapted to it quicker than anybody else.
Okay. So let me throw this out at you guys. Why is Earnhardt not winning? I've said, and I think I've said to my friend Daniel, I don't think Earnhardt will ever win a title. Why doesn't he win? He's got all the money in the world. He can have anything he wants. He could have the team, all the stuff you guys know a lot more about than I do. He can have everything. He's not one of the guys at the bottom that's got to struggle just to get enough gas for his car for that race. He can have anything he wants. Why doesn't he win? And I don't think he ever will. Why doesn't he win?
The biggest thing is, like he was saying with Jimmy and Chad, they've been together for so long. They've built that consistency.
Well,
whereas
communication.
Yes, whereas Dale Jr. has not had the opportunity to build that consistency because they keep changing crew chiefs, they keep changing different crew members and everything, so they're not having a chance to build a consistency.
And he's got the same cars, the same equipment, the same stuff that Jimmy Johnson has, that Casey Kane has, and Jeff Gordon has. They all have the same equipment, the same money, the same everything.
Oh, see, that's what I think, because what you guys just mentioned, those are the big guys.
That's the biggest team in NASCAR, Hendricks.
So it's not that. Is he just not good enough?
It's hard to say.
Maybe he just doesn't have it. Maybe he's...
It's not for lack of trying, I give you that.
Well, I don't doubt that, but maybe it's the bottom line is he's just not his father. He's not that good. Not that he's not good at all. He's just not that good. Because when you're talking...
He's not going to be as good as his father anyway.
Right. We're talking a legend.
Big steps to... Big shoes to fill.
Right. And Senior, again, he may be the best. Right up there with the king. Richard Petty, of course, you got to put in the conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Senior might be the best. It's arguable maybe that he's the best. And maybe Junior has all of the things that you guys were just mentioning just because his name is Dale Earnhardt. But he doesn't have, obviously he's skilled, he's in NASCAR, I'm not questioning that, but he doesn't have that kind of skill to match up with the Jeff Gordons, the Jimmy Johnsons, and those.
Well, if you notice, when he had his success, he was driving for his father's team at that time.
Is that the time where they had that mess with his stepmother?
Yes.
And all of that? I don't even... Maybe another conversation we'll go into about that, because I just know bits and pieces about that.
This year's his last year with his current crew chief, because he's going TV commentary this year. So he's going to, basically in 2015, he's going to start all over again.
He's going to start all over again, right. So like what you guys are talking about, the consistency.
And the communication with your crew chief is very important on how they set up the car for you to drive it.
Yeah, I mean, even... kind of being a novice, NASCAR guy, just knowing, a little bit about it, I would think that communication is really important. All right, another thing. This may be my biggest, so you guys bear with me. Try and keep me under control. All right, the Daytona 500, America's race. Big pageantry, everything. Why is it the first race of the season? the big game we're about to watch, the Super Bowl, you build up to the championship. In baseball, you build up to the World Series. Basketball, building all year long to get to the championship. If the Daytona 500 is the king of NASCAR, why does it begin this season? Where all of the rest of the races, not that they're not important, but they're less important as the season goes on. So I have a suggestion. You let me know what you think. And I don't know, it might just be my New York obnoxiousness, which we know I've got a little of, as you know. Maybe a lot, you guys would say. But I suggest this. Homestead is the last race, okay? Make Homestead opening day. It will be huge because during the off season, kind of like we're going to be depressed tonight after the Super Bowl because there's no football for 6 or 7 months. I know it's not as big an off season in NASCAR. It's like 3 months maybe, 2.5 to 3 months, somewhere in there, between the end of the season.
Yeah, NASCAR's about 3 months.
Okay, about 3 months. Keep the numbers easy. But don't you think Homestead, like in baseball, the first game of the season, opening day, is a big celebration. It's the first of 162 games, but it's opening day. So it's big. Even in the NFL season, it's the first of 16 weeks, but it's huge because football fans are just drooling to get their football. Right. So I would think, and NASCAR's pretty big, so I would think that they're kind of depressed when Homestead is ended and they have to wait 3 more months for the big race. So why not make Homestead, which would be huge because, like I said, for 3 months the NASCAR fans have been salivating for their racing. Homestead would be big, and make the biggest race of all at the end of the season. You're building up to the biggest, and now with the rule changes, the Daytona 500 at the end is the monstrously big Daytona 500, and on top of that, it will decide the champion. Whereas Daytona 500, where it is now, big race that it is, decides nothing except the winner of the Daytona 500. My way, you're building up, they're building up their points, building up the standings, building up everything. Then they're going to do their new system. I think it starts, does it start after race 16 that they start dwindling down the...
Well, the chase starts after 26 races.
26, sorry, 26.
And then they're going to start doing that little elimination thing with the extra, the 4 extra guys they added to the chase this year.
Okay. So why not, with that being said, why not build to the biggest race, the king of NASCAR, and on top of that monstrously big race, have it even bigger, deciding the champion?
I kind of agree because in all motorsports, all the biggest races in the IRL, the Indianapolis 500, the NHRA Indy deal, and all the races are in the middle of the season. They're not like the big deal at the end like regular stick-ball sports are. Right. Why they don't do that, I really can't put an answer on that. I couldn't even begin to tell you why they do that.
Well, even that, we were discussing off air, the Indianapolis 500. If I remember correctly, it's in the middle of the season. Is that not by far the biggest IRL race?
It's one of the biggest races in the world.
It's one of the biggest races in the world.
Yes.
Why is it in the middle of the season? Why can't the same thing I was suggesting for NASCAR that you seem to agree with me on, why can't they do their thing, get their points, race by race by race, build up to the great Indianapolis 500, which will also decide who wins the championship. So it makes the biggest race in the sport, one of the biggest in the world, like you said. Also, on top of that, decide they're racing for the championship as well at the biggest race in their sport. I don't see how other people don't see that. And I'm not trying to offend other people. I'm just saying it seems like duh to me.
Well, something that started so long ago, I don't know that something that they even want to think about changing. But you think the NASCAR race is like they have speed weeks. It goes over a number of weeks. The Indianapolis pretty much covers the whole month of May, right, with all the activities and the different things that they have going on. So it's just basically, all I can tell you, it's just basically tradition. I really don't know. I don't even think they would want to even think about changing it. They like it the way it is.
I get tradition, and I understand that. I respect it. But, you know, back in the early days of the NFL, they had tradition. They do things now differently because you try and hold on to the tradition, but you also have to change with the time. They don't wear leather helmets anymore because they found things that were better to make the game better. You know, so why not? We're talking to Indy 500. We're talking to Daytona 500. Make those monstrously big races mean even more. Racing fans would love it even more because, you know, like the thing with the Heinz ketchup bottle. Anticipation.
Yeah.
You know, you're anticipating. You're building slowly towards the great race, and now the great race means even more because the championship is decided at that great race.
I think they actually should try it one time, each of them, and just to see what happens, what people think, and go from there.
I was going to say, because great minds think alike, it must be. Because I was saying, no, I'm not saying for the 2014 season,
Right.
but say the 2015 season. We're switching Homestead and Daytona. Daytona's going to be in November, right? November is the end, right?
Yeah.
February be Homestead. Okay. So, and what would be the last race in the IRL season? Or what? Do you know what it is off the top of your head?
I think it's October. I think it's the beginning of October.
Do we know what race it is?
What race?
Okay, even if we don't know what race it is.
They change their schedules up here recently last couple years, so you really don't know. Plus, they got a lot of doubleheader races now.
Oh, okay. So
They do.
whatever the final race is in our IRL in October, in 2015, we won't start it this year.
Right.
The Indianapolis 500 is going to be in October. At the end, we're building to the great race, to the championship, and whatever that race is in October is going to be in May.
I actually think it'd be more exciting to settle the championship at those big races. I do.
See, and that's why I brought you guys here, because I wanted to see, with you guys knowing a lot more about racing than I do, if I was crazy in my thinking. It doesn't seem like I'm doing. Why would? I mean, we're watching the biggest thing in American sports tonight, the Super Bowl. You build up to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl was not in September when the season started. You're building. You're winning games. You're doing this. You're doing that. You're going through playoffs. You're doing. Now I realize that it's not really a playoff in motorsports. I don't know how that would work, but you're building to the biggest event. You build in baseball during the regular season. You build to the World Series. Why not build to the Indianapolis 500 and decide the championship at the big race? It makes it even bigger. It won't diminish from all of the other races because it's like a stepping stone. You're anticipating, you're building, you're watching your favorite drivers do their thing during the season. And I don't know, some people, I've mentioned it too, they're like, well, you don't understand tradition. Well, I mean, I understand tradition, but you can still have the tradition. It's still going to be the greatest race.
Right.
It's going to be even bigger now. It's going to have more at stake for this
one
biggest
problem
race.
with the Indy 500 being at the end of the season, though, the track will be a lot cooler, and they might be able to not get the same kind of time, same kind of speed, and all that.
Okay.
And then having in the May, the track is a lot better, and they can handle the cars a lot better. And
All right.
with the Daytona 500, you can do it that way because you're already racing down in the warmer weather anyway during the wintertime.
Okay.
So that would work. But the Indy 500 might be a little bit of a long shot for that part.
Okay. Well, that's. I'm glad you brought that up because that was something I would have never thought about. Okay. So is there any? And again, we'd be doing it in 2015, not this year. So is there some way that the NASCAR, well, in this case, we're talking about the Indy 500, the IRL minds, who know much more than I do, couldn't they figure out a way to address that issue? Okay, so if I remember right, in that race, they go 220, 230 miles an hour in that race?
Yeah.
Is it horrible if they go 212?
Now, they've done it in the past, but actually they're trying to make rule packages because they just did new engine packages with new turbos and stuff. The officials actually want the pace to be faster. They want it to be in the 230, 240 range now.
Wow.
That's what they're talking.
Well, and I understand from the excitement part, but does that make the risk higher to the drivers?
Absolutely.
240 miles an hour?
Absolutely.
I mean, are people going to be disappointed?
Yeah, because when people see motorsports, they expect faster speeds. That's what people want. More speed, faster times.
I understand that. But like Chad was talking about the track issue, I'm sure there are people out there that can figure out the issue with the track is better in May than October, I'm sure they could figure it out somehow to get it where the track is.
Sometimes you actually think cold creates better races, more horsepower, but the track can be too cold. Any racetrack, drag racing, it doesn't matter. Any track can be too cold to where the traction is not going to be any good.
Okay. So, see,
Same thing as a hot race track. It's not going to be good.
So are you saying you don't think that anybody could figure out a way for the Indy 500 to run the way it's supposed to run, not being slowed down 10, 20, 25 miles an hour, whatever it would be slowed down? You don't think there's anybody out there that could figure out a way to have the track the right way in October?
Well, they could probably change the compound of the tire to be able to accept
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the tire manufacturers work.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe the tires.
That would be something. I'm not saying it would never be possible. I'm saying right now that'd be the one thing that would stop them. So it would take a couple years of development and testing to be able to try to find the right compound to use.
Yeah, they'd have to test during that time of the year to get readings so they can make a tire, so Firestone can make a tire.
Okay, and I'd have no problem with that. I mean, if they told me it would be 3 or 4 years now, down the line, and like we were talking about before, try it 1 year. If the fans rebel and don't like it, you go back to the way it was.
Yeah.
But I'd be satisfied with that. I would still think that what I've brought up makes more sense. But at least you tried it. It's like, all right, we tried to make the biggest races at the end. Every other sport, it's the right way. But for some reason in racing, it's just not the right way because the fans have spoken. And obviously, like Curtis said before, without the fans, there's no sport. So I get that. And it's about the money. It's just, to me, it just seems like it would be even bigger. You could make the biggest thing in your sport even bigger when there's more stuff on the line. All right. Well, that's probably all that I have, guys. And I appreciate it. I mean, I've learned a lot. I would have never even thought about the possibility that the track wouldn't be right at a certain time of the year. See, that never even crossed my mind. And things about the point systems that you are educating me on. I appreciate the knowledge. I still think what I suggested would be better for the racing itself. I don't know. But I appreciate it. My friends Curtis Smith, Chad Spiver, thank you very much for the knowledge. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on.
You're welcome. Thanks very much. Everybody out there, don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter. You've been listening to the Sportsocology show. Please go to YouTube and hit the subscribe button at the Sportsocology show. That will let you know when my shows have been uploaded. I plan on doing a show every Saturday at least, and maybe even more than one per week, but every Saturday. It depends on what's happening in the sports world. Thanks very much. Happy Super Bowl Sunday, and we'll see you later, America, wherever you are.
Yay.